I'm going to tell you how I learn a second language and work a full-time job. Welcome to English Coach 3Ts. If we haven't met before, I'm teacher Tanya. And today, like usual, I have a practice sheet that you can use with this video to learn even more English. This video is a little different than some of the other videos you find here on my channel, but you can definitely learn a lot of English with this video and the practice sheet that you can get for free by joining my free More English Club with Tanya. For more information and to sign up, check out the link in the description below. So my second language is Spanish. My third language that I'm studying right now is German. And just to give you a little background, I studied French for 6 years in high school and college, and you will often hear me say, I can't speak a word of French, which isn't totally true because I can say, Je m'appelle Tanya and bonne nuit, things like that. But I really cannot say much more than A0 type of information. And while I can understand a little bit, it really is less than A1. 6 years of study. So what's the difference between that 6 years of study and the more than 6 years of study or learning that I've had in Spanish? Some might argue that it's the language, but I would say a lot of it has to do with the way I'm learning. And then the thing I really want to help you with today is how do you do that when you're very busy? I work a full-time job. I'm a single mom of 2 young adults, and I have a home. I have things that I do for my community. I volunteer my time. How do you learn a language when you're so busy? A lot of it has to do with the way in which you learn it. So let's talk a little bit about that. When I first started to learn Spanish, I started my learning process a lot like the way I started my learning process with French. However, I knew that there were some things about that that did not work. And so I started looking for what is it that doesn't work. I knew that studying with books only doesn't work. I knew that studying with books as a big part of it doesn't work. And I knew that when you really don't like what or how you're learning something, or if you're really bored when you're learning it, it's not going to work. This is just the way your brain works. Can you learn from a book? Can you learn when you're bored? Yes, it is just a lot slower and takes a lot more time. So that's not going to work with someone who has a very busy life. What did I do differently? Well, first of all, we didn't have the internet when I was in high school and college. So that was a big difference, is I was able to look for a lot of resources online. And this is a huge thing. Fortunately, as an English learner, you have a big advantage in that there are a lot of resources online, a lot of free resources, and a lot of resources that cost a little bit of money but are affordable. And then you can go from there. Of course, there are a lot of expensive resources and a lot of other things that you can do to learn English. But with just those lesser expensive or free resources, you can do a lot of learning that wasn't available to us years and years ago. But that's not the biggest difference. Having resources is a huge part of the way that you learn, and I'm going to tell you about it soon. Okay, so at first, I was doing a lot of things trying to figure out what would work the best. And finally, after a few years, I knew that comprehensible input was important. I always used comprehensible input in my learning, but if this was the time I spent learning, This was the time I spent with comprehensible input. And now that's completely changed as I have learned how much comprehensible input can help you to learn, how it can help you to learn faster, and how it can help you to learn with less stress and something that's not boring. So I'm going to tell you how that works, but I want to tell you how I use it in my plan. So this is important. I have a personal practice plan. Since I have had a personal practice plan for quite a long time, it looks different than the way I teach my students because most of my students are new to the idea of a personal practice plan, or at least understanding it in the depth you need to understand it. And so when students start out, they need a very detailed personal learning plan, or I like to call it personal practice plan. My personal practice plan is something I look at and change at least once a year and usually several times a year. It depends on all the things that are happening in my learning, but also in my life and, of course, the world. So this is one thing that is very, very important. Now, in that plan, the number 2 thing that I think you really need to know outside of comprehensible input is that your plan needs to include reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and not necessarily in that order. For example, for me, I know what my priorities are. This is a big part of it, is knowing your values and your priorities. And for me, listening has the highest priority because if I can't understand people, it's hard for me to speak to them. Now, speaking is also a huge priority for me, and I would say it is just a little bit under listening. So this is where I spend the majority of my time, listening and reading comprehensible input and practicing my speaking in a number of ways. Now, I have videos on all of these topics, listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So I will put some links below and up above so that you can see those specific topics. But today, what I want to talk about is how important it is to have all of them, but not necessarily all in the same way. For me, writing is not a big priority. I love writing. I really enjoy writing in my native language, English. And writing in Spanish is not only difficult for me, it's not something I need to do very often. So I don't practice that skill as much or in the same ways that I practice the ones that are really important, but I do practice it. And then reading is something I really enjoy in all of my languages that I'm learning. And so it is up there at the top because it's comprehensible input, but listening to comprehensible input has a greater priority for me. So I do that more than reading. And one of the ways that I do that is to listen while I read, which is a great way to work on your fluency. Now, I said I was going to talk a little bit more about comprehensible input. When you're looking for comprehensible input, which is things that you can listen to or you can read, it needs to be things where you can understand at least 90%, but 95 or 99% is even better. This is an important thing, or else it's not comprehensible input. The other thing is it needs to be something that is interesting to you. It doesn't have to be the most interesting thing to you, but if it's boring, even if it's 95 or 99%, it isn't going to work as well. Will it work? Yes, especially if you're tolerant of that, especially if, okay, this is a little boring, but I can be interested in something, in the words, in something about it. I have found that as my level increases, I get bored more easily. I wonder if that has happened to you. And the other thing I've learned about comprehensible input is it is really important, and for me, very important, crucial to my learning, to have my resources before the time I'm going to practice. Now, why is this? Because I'm so busy, when it's time to practice, if I have to look for something to read or listen to, typically I'm too tired and I get frustrated because, yes, I might find something quickly, but more often than not, I have to do quite a bit of looking before I find something that's comprehensible. So how do I do that? I have a couple of ways I'm going to share with you today. First of all, I am always looking for resources. So I always have resources available, but I'm always looking for more so that I keep my stash, if you will, of resources full. A stash is just where you keep something important. For example, if you have a stash of cash that you use for vacation, something like that. So I have a stash of resources, and I'm always putting more resources in there. And then the other thing I do is that when I come across a video that is very, very interesting to me, and I understand most of it, but not all of it, after I watch it, I put it back into my stash. And the way I do that is I take the link and I actually put it on my calendar in 2 weeks or in 1 month or in 6 weeks. That way, when I look at my calendar, I always have things that I have listened to before, but I didn't understand them 100%, and they were very interesting to me. And especially if it's 1 month or 6 weeks later, I don't remember everything about it. And I have found that by the time those videos come back up on my calendar, I am learning way more than I thought I would when I put them on the calendar. This has helped me to keep my stash of resources really full. And as a teacher, I know that listening to something again is very helpful for you. I'm curious what questions you have about how this works for me and how I make it fit into my life. I'm going to answer a few that I've had in the past, but if you have more questions, put them in the comments. So one thing I get asked is, when do I practice? And the answer is, I practice all day. I practice every morning with some reading that takes me about 5 minutes, and I always know exactly what it's going to be before I even wake up. Then throughout my day, if I have something I see or something that I hear in Spanish, it could be a small thing at lunchtime. It might be a little bit of news that I hear on one of my breaks. But the main time that I have set aside or saved for practicing is right after work. Usually right after work, I'm pretty hungry. And so I make my dinner and I'm all set up with things I know I'm going to watch. Every single day, I have something that I already know I'm going to watch or listen to in Spanish. It might be a YouTube video, an audio book. Sometimes it's a TV show or a movie, but usually it's a YouTube video, audio book, or a podcast. And I do that while I'm eating, which for me works really well because I live alone. But if you live with someone else, you might be able to find a way to make something like that work. Then instead of watching things in English like television or movies afterwards, I still have things that I watch in Spanish and in German, which is my second language. I don't watch German while I'm eating, and that's because my German level is A1, barely A1. And when I'm eating, I really don't have the energy I need to focus on what is being said. With Spanish, because my level is much higher, I can choose something just a little lower to listen to while I eat. And then after I'm finished eat, when I can give it all of my attention, I can listen to something that's even more advanced. Another way that I fit this into my day is to listen to things while I'm driving or doing the dishes. Sometimes when I take a walk, although usually I just take a walk. And then the last thing is that I schedule times to speak with people like my teacher and my conversation exchange, so it's scheduled into my calendar ahead of time. I also practice my speaking in a lot of different ways that I talk about in the video that I will put in the description below. And like the way I listen, I do that in different ways throughout my day. This way is very effective because I'm not getting a lot of study time 1 or 2 times a week. I'm getting a lot of study time spread out all along my week. So all day and all week and all month, I'm being exposed to and using my Spanish. Now, I will say a little bit about my third language. In German, there are way fewer resources than Spanish, which means there are even fewer than there are in English. And that makes it a lot harder. But one of the things it's taught me is how important having that stash of resources is. Also, in German, my teacher recently took a break, and so I'm needing to find other resources for that, which is very good because it reminds me how important it is to not only have the resource you're using, like a teacher, YouTube video, whatever it is, and a backup, meaning something you could use if this goes away. And also in German, because my level is very different, it's a totally different way of approaching comprehensible input, because learning from comprehensible input at A0 and A1 is very different than it is at B1, B2, C1, C2. Now, not different in that it's a totally different method, but different in the way you experience it. So there's a lot of information in this video. I know that it might be a little overwhelming, like it's too much, but if you have questions, remember you can put them below. And if you want to know a little bit more about comprehensible input, I recommend you watch this video next, and I'll see you there.